launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys, blasting off with Dakota Barnett from InvArch's. And also want to introduce you to Crane, who you may know from around Twitter and the Chaos DAO. He's actually going to be joining the Kusama team, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to all get talking together. Dakota, we had you on in the animation days, but very good to have you here in person. Welcome to the show.
So thank you. Honored to be here, and back in the animation days, that was also very special because that was, as I mentioned, that was my very first interview. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah, well, you know what? A lot has changed since we spoke. That was 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Maybe you could give us a quick rundown of what's been happening.
I would say what's transformed the most since we last spoke, because the overall vision is still there, but how we achieve it, a lot more powerful. So like we have multi-class fungible tokens. So like, there's a primitive, and we're used to there's this token and it does everything, whether it's governance or utility, but we've invented multi-class fungible tokens so where you can separate, you can have different fungible tokens all attached to one thing. So that's really important. And I think even like XCA, cross-chain authentication, that might be new since we last talked. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, that, and then everything with GitArch and all that. Now we have like some products going on. So
yeah.
It's been fleshed out a lot more since we spoke last.
I mean, we have like one thing on our keycards. It's like DAOs CDK. Could you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the DAO CDK, I'm extremely excited for this because it's one of the themes I've been trying to push more and more as just a member of the Polkadot ecosystem, but especially as a founder in the space of a chain, is basically a collaboration between multiple chains, so creating products that integrate features powered by multiple chains. So the DAO CDK specifically is something that is powered by Fala Network's FAT contracts and InvArch's InvArch's Network's NFT primitives and multi-sig solutions. It's a middleware. It's important to not look at it necessarily as the product itself, the DAO CDK. On top of Ethereum, a DAO, the DAO itself would be considered the product. The DAO CDK is just a tool for launching them. We're able to essentially provide a launcher for decentralized FAT clients. So for FAT clients for DAOs, which can be used in Discord. So what that means is Discord, like you can see it understand as a UI. You know what I mean? It's just my portal that I go to interact and communicate with people. However, imagine underneath that. So like when you initiate certain commands in Discord, typically like you're running them like to a bot or something like that, but this is all connected in the back end to like on-chain having treasuries, having like different roles defined, and then specific permissions for those roles, and being able to tie from like the roles to actual users in the Discord, being able to have like DAO governance over treasuries and over again like just roles and operations, and have all of that handled on-chain through this FAT client that is interacted with through the Discord UI.
Right.
And it's really cool because we're building GitArch, which is all about censorship proof, like 100% through and through. And obviously, like Discord itself as a UI could be viewed as like a single point of failure. You know what I mean? But the beauty of this is Discord is an immediate gateway for adoption for all of these users. However, we'll be able to deploy our own custom UI, and anyone can build their own custom UIs really for this. And the really cool thing is whether you're interacting with the DAO through that UI or you're interacting with the DAO directly through Discord, you could have multiple UIs of access to operate in the DAO.
So you could have like a Telegram access point, and you could have
hypothetically, because you could run commands and stuff. Like shout out to Donnie and the Kusama guys, because like I saw what they were doing. I actually messaged him about it because I thought it was pretty neat. Like routing everything through like that one bit, and it's cool because if you take that concept and expand it and apply it towards others, then you could absolutely integrate the CDK and its functions to where you could basically make in-DAO calls using any platform that that provides that avenue to basically send text.
Very, very simply here, like the very bare basic primitives of a DAO. What aspects do you need to create a DAO? You said there's like a treasury.
I don't think that we've seen many actual DAOs
No
today.
way. No.
I think we've seen decentralized to an argument, but decentralized protocols, which have many people that have a token that votes, but it's decentralized, but it's missing the A and the O. An organization, one big overall body that consists of different individual smaller bodies or pods within them. So like there might be like the U.S. federal government. Let's say that's like, boom, that's the DAO, okay? But inside of it, you have different committees. And these different committees are responsible for voting on different matters. Like the federal government, they allocate the budget. But then these committees decide how to spend their individual budgets to achieve their goals, which all go towards this overall, running a country, this broader goal. So with primitives, to just bring it back, so like the core thing here with primitives is you need to be able to, as far as like define different bodies. So you need to be able to define different bodies, and typically doing them through different roles. You need to be able to provide treasury, but sub-treasuries also, because it's not like the fundings don't go to someone's pocketbook, they're managed on chain. So the ability to have a main treasury, which can allocate funds to other sub-treasuries that can be uniquely governed by specific individuals.
What do you mean when you say governed? What does that entail?
So this brings the A in. So the autonomous aspect of things is an autonomous organization is you're able to have these different bodies which govern themselves in a sense. Like, and what I mean by that is, so they have their own sub-treasuries. Which to them it's just their main treasury, But as an individual body, let's say the finance department, okay, they are able to vote amongst themselves how to actually spend the funds. Whereas the developer team over here has their own treasury and completely separate from the others can decide how they need to allocate and use some of these funds. That's like the autonomous bit to where they exist in this one big organization, but they're able to manage themselves separately in order to achieve their individual goals, which help to achieve like the bigger focus.
Well, when I hear autonomously and treasury spending and funding, I hear little legal problems as well. Is that anything you worry of, or is it no?
The main thing that comes to mind when it comes to like I'll say law is really like compliance, like regulations. So if there is an issue in the DAO, who's responsible? I think that's maybe the main point. That's become like a gray area between regulators and builders and people who are part of DAOs, is understanding like when someone is responsible for something, who is actually responsible, because the U.S. government is just so accustomed to you charge the person. You know what I mean? A legal issue as far as like anyone like breaking law, like no, I don't see anything like that. I more so see it as a kind of like an interesting thing that the government kind of still needs to work on figuring out, is understanding. First and foremost, I think that there is a lack of understanding at the government level and from regulators when it comes to what DAOs are, decentralization, what a decentralized protocol is. I don't think it's something that they fully understand the full aspect of. So with that being said, I really think that a majority of that comes on to the future of whether it's us working with regulators to help them understand. I see the DAO CDK as something that could ultimately be used by, like, even current corporations could see this as a tool to, if they do want to decentralize, whether it's the whole organization or even just certain aspects within their organization. This could be a very interesting and powerful tool for that. In a hybrid model, then as far as legal issues and things like that, it actually becomes very simple, because there's probably still would be this single point of authority or representative or something like that, which DAOs can themselves appoint, of course. But in a fully decentralized, completely decentralized body, there's nothing law-breaking, but I would say that there definitely is still a journey that is being taken and needs to finish out regarding the governments, whether it's the U.S. government, or European government, whatever government, and their understanding of decentralization, and decentralized protocols, and with that, then maybe they can hopefully come up with regulations that are more accommodating. Whether they like it or not, these systems are going to show up in more abundance over time. So it's just going to become a norm that they're going to have to adopt. There
are like organizations existing right now, on Telegram, on Discord. What's the time to set up using the CDK? How long would it take for an organization to deploy this?
Minutes. That's the short answer. The short answer is minutes. If it's something very simple, like 3 clicks.
Yeah.
But obviously, if someone wants to go in and structure a rather, let's say, complex organization, has multiple different bodies, it could have even different levels of leadership in those bodies.
Yeah.
Then it might take a little bit more time. But even if someone to go in and design maybe one of the most complex and intricate organizations that they can imagine, no more than 30 minutes.
Isn't the creation of NFTs essential to the whole concept? And isn't that sometimes a bit more time consuming than minutes?
No. So the creation of NFTs and the aspect of art, I would say that if you want to tie in things, but you don't
But
need
artists
that. That's
don't need
not
it,
a
obviously,
yeah,
also.
yeah. So like that's not a need there. And then regarding like the ability to deploy these things, the beauty of it, at least in our ecosystem and using pallets, is developers don't need to deploy their own like NFT contracts or anything like that. They'll never have to worry about anything like that. They just use our pallets, which create them for them.
And you guys are employing a lot of other chains in the ecosystem. You're using Remark, which is on Kusama, and you're talking about using Fala as well.
I really want to highlight Fala and actually Astar Network.
Yeah.
Because so with Fala, like with the DAOs CDK, we talk about Fala in the sense of fusing together like their technology with ours in order to create this. But I bring up Astar just because in our scope, we are focusing a lot on just how to make our primitives able to be used trustlessly and called on trustlessly by other whether it be contracts or pallets from other chains and ecosystems.
Yeah.
Something that actually it's not possible right now, and it's something that we kind of see as like a key to having like these really powerful like single DApp powered by multiple protocols.
Yeah.
In the future, we'll have it where like someone can deploy a smart contract from Astar that's really just handling the trustless logic of your application, but then the primitives and even let's say multi-sig ownership solutions could be this smart contract could interact with these pallets and this whole system, and it's all trustless. It goes hand in hand with this vision of having our chain as really focusing on the underlying primitives of whether it's you want to view it as intellectual property or organizational primitives or whatever, focusing on those primitives and making them accessible and able to be used by other protocols, whether it be smart contracts in the ecosystem, so that we can build solutions like the CDK with Fala Network, where they have it's using a fat contract, PHAT, a fat contract, and deploying a fat bot. That bot owns the server. However, it's actually an IMv4 primitive, an IP set that owns the bot. So then through proxy, everyone who has a respective, the right ownership token over this primitive now has the ability to make multi-sig function calls over the bot, and which means this bot replaces the role of a server owner. And so then any functional call that typically in the real world, like the server owner could go about and do, you're able to decentralize those aspects. So whether it's create a new role, add a new role, even delete the server, you can make sure that it doesn't happen unless there is a certain threshold. Or you can make it to where there's no threshold needed.
That's
for
a lot of
certain
technical
roles.
talk. Are there any proof of concepts which are live? I know where users who are not into the fat contracts and stuff can see how it works already?
Not yet. Like to go and see it already. We have done like some proof of concepts. Gabe has with the Fala team. So I will say somewhere out on Twitter, there is a very early proof of concept which just shows it does show a fat contract. It shows the fat bot owns the server, and it shows that Gabe initiates function calls, which then causes the bot to do certain things in the server, like send messages.
Yeah.
So as far as the ability to connect everything, we've confirmed that the possibilities for everything. The main thing here now is we're working on trustless transacts across chains. That's one big thing. Otherwise, it's just kind of like putting the pieces together. We're actually actively, like as we speak right now, Gabe has been chit-chatting with the Fala team and getting things moving forward and talking about all that. The idea here is we want to make it as simple as possible. So like that's why the CDK versus an SDK, it's community development kit versus software development kit. And the reason for the acronym difference is because we want this to be something that, hypothetically speaking, you don't need any developer. You could just be a regular person. I want to start a business, an organization, but this is how I want to do it. And we want this to be a tool where you can very easily and seamlessly just go on there and get yourself set up.
Is there first confirmation of the DAO who will use the CDK as the first one?
To start things off, there's UDL DAO. Of course, like UDL
right.
DAO will be we kind of like beta testing through everything. But actually, I would say regarding like next immediate DAO, because we're still kind of, I don't want to say we're terribly early. We build kind of fast, so like it is newish, but it'll also be here in the relative near future as well. So we haven't started to like market towards external DAOs just yet, because we don't want to like present to them and then they're like, cool, let's go, and then we're like, wait.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean?
But I will say that there's a handful of ecosystem like DAOs that have reached out to us, that have expressed their interest. Even from,
can you name some?
I mean, there's Chaos DAO. I say that's a rather large one.
Spacers.
Basically, yeah, Spacers NFT. I like the idea of WagMedia. I'll say that.
You know, I would love to unload some of the responsibilities and some of the office work of WagMedia onto
Sounds
something
perfect
like
for
this.
WagMedia, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So we're really excited with that, just because our original focus, honestly, was like we'll showcase it using UDL DAO. But since then, we've had really awesome people reach out to us and just express their interest. So those have all been just kind of pluses for us right now. Like because we don't have plans to like kind of start to market to like, hey, let's get everyone to try it out until like another month from now.
Yeah.
So all of the early interest has just been really awesome. We've even had like people from like Parity have like talked to us about it, about our solutions and our multi-sig ownership solutions that come with it all too, and a lot of potential stuff that we will see in the future with that. Yeah.
How about some other integrations? Like, you know, when you're talking about treasuries, you know, like for instance, another project I'm kind of curious about is Imbue.
I love Imbue. I like what they're doing a lot. If you actually like look back, not to say like it is the same thing, because it's different, it's more thorough. But if you look at my very first grant proposal to the Web3 Foundation, there was the DEV protocol, decentralized entrepreneurial ventures, the mouthful.
Okay.
But it was essentially what Imbue is. It was this idea for milestones, for tracking, trustless like incubation of projects and trustless collaboration between different parties and things like that. There's this big vision that I have for the creator economy, and so like Imbue and what it does is actually extraordinary. It's a key piece of that. It's a key piece of that vision. So with the dev protocol, I just realized that for everything that we wanted to do, this is something that's like it would either be better off as a separate chain, or even possibly built on top of our chain as like using contracts or just as like a layer 2 of some sort. But nonetheless, the thing I realized was like, we got a lot going on. This will be something that's better on its own. We focus on what we do, but when it comes to Dapps, that's where you're going to see me go integration crazy. The whole reason why I started this journey is the idea that I've had for over 5 years now, and it is this mass collaboration DApp between thinkers, creators, people with the resources to tie it all together. And something that Imbue provides is you need to have trustless milestones, things like that. That is actually something that I plan on reaching out to them in the future to kind of make that one of the core protocols that actually powers this DApp. Imbue, they're the only team that's funded less than us that's a parachain. And they're out there building, so like big respect to those guys.
Big respect to Imbue, yeah, no doubt.
There's so many chains that I have like a vision for working with. Kilt is obviously a big one. I love Kilt. I talk about Kilt a lot, and it's because I really see DID solutions as a core tenet for the future, specifically social KYC. I think the social KYC is extraordinarily important because to have a truly decentralized platform, okay, but in order to have it to be trustless, to know that who you're working with or who is that you can trust it's that individual, to be able to like, for example, their repository like on GitHub or GitArch, being able to tie it into where like, how do you know that like this is actually Bob's repository? Because I interviewed several people over the past year and they share GitHub and it's not theirs.
Oh,
you know what
really?
I mean? And
Yeah.
I could imagine that this social KYC plays an important role. I'm getting back to the legal framework again. For if government really tries to crack down or really doesn't like what's happening with the anonymous people, if they really crack down on the anonymous thing, then social KYC can play an important role, so that everyone is known in who is control, or at least in the multi-sig to the treasury, and who is playing a substantial part in the DAO with the DAO as CDK.
One of the big things I love about the Polkadot ecosystem is if you try and look at one chain at a time, you're not going to find like the perfect. You know what I mean? Like this can't solve all the world's problems. This can't solve, and that's fine. It's beautiful. It's how we want it. But what we can have is this chain solves these problems. This chain solves these problems. So with Polkadot, we have a lot of solutions that are being built, I do believe, for the future, with a firm understanding of awareness for the future. And I think Kilt is one of those projects that's doing that very, very well. I really like Kilt. That's a big project. Obviously, Fala. I'm a huge Fala fan. I love everything that they're doing. I really like Centrifuge. Actually, I've been looking at them a lot more. Really,
what do you like about Centrifuge?
Because of the real world asset aspect. So bridging real world, this connection between IP to real world asset, and bridging that gap through the creation process, I think would be beautiful, would be really powerful. But basically, when I look at our ecosystem, I see all of the primitives in one area or another to build just about anything.
Just as far as the technology goes within the Polkadot ecosystem, how far out do you think we are from something like that actually being possible?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years tops.
So just in time for the next bull market.
So they say. Yeah. I think almost no one knows.
That's what I heard.
I think no one knows when the next bull market is. But I say 2 years or less because so right now in the Polkadot ecosystem, there is a lot of reflection. I feel like. So like people are refocusing, and I feel like there is this increasing shift towards like away from app chain to multi-protocol powered dApps. Like focusing on because. Polkadot, ironically, as technical and originally focused on layer 1 devs as it is, was designed to house, I do believe, some of the best user experience providing dApps that could be built. And this is because with Substrate we have customized gas fees, tokenless apps, and even with, I'm excited, it's a little bit of alpha, but like even with InvArch's, like we have completely abstract like accounts and wallets from the process to where you don't need one to use it. We'll talk about it later.
What do you mean you don't need one? Well, what do you mean you don't need one?
So at least
how would you be an actor without a wallet or an account?
So they have an account, but they don't need to worry about. It'll be an option, but individuals won't need to worry about necessarily installing Polkadot.js to get started or nothing like that. It'll be as simple as verifying their GitHub accounts. This is a mix. This is a solution.
Don't they need Tinker for pushing stuff?
I want to provide this. So this solution is entirely possible in partner with Fala. It's actually fat contracts that realize a lot of this. It's just us using it for our benefit in the ways that we want to.
So cool.
But we want to have it to where, at least to get people started, kind of subsidize a few of those initial transactions, let developers get going, and then when they're like, I like it, then like, cool, then you introduce them to the next step.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it makes sense to put that cost on. It'll
be cool because we should be the first to showcase this, but any dApp that provides a service will be able to provide this kind of like trial feature, so where people for X amount of time can use the dApp or service, trial it without ever needing to even download a wallet.
Right.
And I feel like that'll be really important because this way people can just, do I like it or do I not?
I mean, it's a proven and tested Web 2 mechanism to onboard people with free trials and then make bank.
That's what we see.
It'd be great then to also like where they could just like put the credit card number in and then like buy what they need to buy to run it without even knowing, right?
Well, things like that.
Because then it's just a subscription service.
Yeah. Well, and that gets us to like the next thing is like, but yeah, so we can build in like subscription services around this, but with tokens, of course, right now. But to abstract everything Web3 even more from Web3, would be it. So like if you could have an integration of those services. Obviously, I'll highlight the irony of like Bitcoin was all about taking like money control away. Whereas with like these services, as time progresses, we realize like whether it's for the sake of adoption or just pragmatism, people are always gonna have a bank account. You know what I mean? So like with Talisman, you know what I mean? Bring in like the ability to ease of access. So I'm more attuned to initially designing a system based just around the cryptocurrencies. However, if someone could just use a card to pay for services and features directly, like abstracting even the need for the token's there in the background doing everything, but as far as they're concerned, they have no idea.
I think it's one step for mass adoption.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're just paying for like the service that they're paying for is like unstoppability.
Yeah, so it's literally just their regular everyday life, like they're used to. I'm just using this new awesome service. Yeah, it's not. I didn't have to go down this rabbit hole. I didn't have to, which I invite everyone to jump down.
Absolutely.
But the point is like, no, grandma can get going and have no idea what Web3 is.
Radical. Well, dude, it's really, really nice talking to you. Thanks for taking the time to fill us in on just this one, I don't want to say narrow, but it's only a piece of what's going on at InvArch. Well, I know you guys got a bunch of other stuff going on, so I hope we can catch up on another episode soon.
That would be awesome. That would definitely be awesome.
The CDK, making DAOs live up to their name.
And just accessible.
To everybody is really, really exciting.
In the real world, people can go ahead and start up a business. There's some sites now that are helping people do that easily. So I just want to be able to provide the same thing, but for decentralized autonomous organizations and just kind of get that going, because there is a hybrid future, but in order to achieve that, people need to be able just as easily, if not more easily than they're able to get an actual centralized organization going. They need to have that same experience for a decentralized one as well.
Okay, dude. Well, very nice talking to you.
Thank you, Jay.
We'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks. It's always an honor, and thank you very much.